seas out on the water. This is nothing new for the Coast Guard, those men and women who are out actively searching now in day 5 for Perry and Austin. My colleague Brian Enton joins us now live from Jupiter Inlet, where earlier today he caught up with a rescue swimmer, a former Coast Guard rescue swimmer, a man who knows firsthand the dangers about life on the water. Brian.
Jay, this Coast Guard rescue swimmer says he personally has rescued people who have been at sea for days, just clinging to a life jacket, barely alive, but they did survive. So he says he has hope, but he showed us today just how difficult it is to spot someone in the middle of the ocean. We head out the Jupiter Inlet and into the Atlantic.
Things go wrong out in the water quickly.
We're with retired Coast Guard helicopter rescue swimmer Steve Hathaway. He's been on countless searches like the one for Austin and Perry.
I am very hopeful, yeah. I'm hopeful. Absolutely. You got to be.
Steve and I go into the ocean. Watch closely. As Chopper 5 zooms out, you realize how small we really are. Quickly, we become almost invisible. Even my orange life jacket disappears into the blue Atlantic. This is what pilots are up against.
If you panic, you're done. You got to stay cool.
Steve says 90% of staying alive is mental, staying calm and making yourself noticeable.
There's something coming, I'm going to splash like this. I'm going to make myself a big target when I do this. Okay.
Even with 80-degree water, hypothermia is the biggest threat.
Huddle position is when you pull your knees up, keep your arms like this.
Staying warm is the difference between life and death. Steve says after 2 days, the salt water in your mouth makes it so you can barely talk.
It's hard to yell. And sound travels over water very well. I mean, you can hear people talking on boats and stuff from a long distance away. You have a good whistle. You know, all you need to do is blow on that.
They are difficult odds to beat, but Steve says he's seen miraculous rescues firsthand.
It's very difficult, not impossible, but very difficult.
So there are 2 things that Steve says he is especially interested in. Number 1, he says the kind of survival training those boys received. He says if the Coast Guard knows that they've had a specific kind of survival training, that means they will stretch the search out farther. And number 2, he's very interested in the cooler that the boys could be with. He said if there was fresh water in that cooler, and if they had that fresh water sealed inside, it could provide much needed nutrients to them and they could survive much longer at sea. Live at the Jupiter Inlet, I'm Brian Enton, WPTV News Channel 5.